Bishop, thank you very much for talking to the Catholic leader today. We're in recovery stage, but we've seen the greatest devastation, the greatest flood to hit Lismore. Can you recount what's happened since February the 28th?
Yes, well, on February the 28th, the emergency alarms went off and people were told to evacuate. Luckily, where I am is higher up, so I didn't evacuate, and people just found themselves overwhelmed with water and having to climb out onto roofs to escape the water, which once the water went over the levee, it just rose at an extraordinary rate, and the water was gushing in. It's a wonder that the people got out, in fact. So much bravery, and people were out and about on the 28th saving people from rooftops. I think on the 1st of March they were still saving people from rooftops because it took so long to get to some of them. Most of it was done by people just going out in their boats. Boats were coming into Lismore at all places, and people were going in the boats, going to where they were told there's someone on a rooftop to help them. And then they went to evacuation centres. I went to one on the Tuesday, which was the 1st of March, which were just full of people who were the best way to put it, they were in a state of shock. So that's what happened at the beginning. I mean, even the bishop got evacuated in a boat.
Tell me about that.
Well, for me, it's the first time it's ever happened to me. I mean, I was lucky. My place in the end wasn't flooded, but it was surrounded with water. And once the power failed, because there were explosions in the town and there's no power after that, I was told by everyone, you must get out. So I took with me 3 active nuns, Carmelite missionary nuns, and the Maris brothers who lived next door, and they already had some people who went there because it was the only place they could get to. And I said, we're all going, we have to go. So we were all evacuated. For me, the fundamental reason was if I didn't and it got worse, I'd be a nuisance for someone later on, and they'd have to come by to evacuate me. So I thought, no, we must go. So we took off.
Coming into Lismore a few weeks after the devastation, and you can't help but be overwhelmed by the sense of community, a community spirit, people helping each other. People who've lost everything still chipping in and helping neighbours. Is it something you've experienced? Have you been part of this?
Something similar happened in 2017 when again the CBD was flooded, and it was considered to be a terrible tragedy, but this was about 2.5 metres higher than the 2017 flood. But the extraordinary thing is the event of such a significant tragedy has made everyone think of others and not themselves. I contrast it with what happened with COVID-19. People were in the supermarkets fighting over toilet paper. Now people are taking toilet paper and giving it to people. The complete opposite, because people's focus is turned away from themselves and the fear of COVID to the care of the others who have lost everything. And so by the Friday, Saturday and Sunday, which is soon after the Monday, when the waters had subsided, people were everywhere trying to find a way to help people. People just wanted to help people. And in an extraordinary way, the community has discovered itself. Because now we see goodness, we see kindness, we see compassion. And it happened because the events forced us to respond that way. And I suppose in that we begin to see what's truly within the human heart. Because when everything is taken in a tragedy, what remains is real. And that's what's emerged. Extraordinary event.
It's remarkable to see Catholic schools, Trinity College for one, relocating so quickly, and a university campus opening their arms and allowing them to operate from there.
Yes. We had one, South Lismore, Trinity, South Wollongbar. Those 3 schools were totally destroyed. And they were up and running from this Monday. As soon as school went back, they were there. South Lismore's now at another place in Lismore. Trinity College has gone to Woodlawn, to the university, and they're doing some online teaching. And South Wollongbar is now using some of the rooms and the hall at our high school in Wollongbar. So it's really, I mean, even in terms of that, for our school in Wollongbar, all the school principals, there are 3 of them, 2 primary, 1 secondary, they're friends, they work together. And as soon as one has a need, the others all chip in to try to help. And yeah, it's a good thing. You know, you're beginning to see, really, when push comes to shove, it's the gospel which emerges. And it didn't require evangelization, it was there in people's hearts.
The Mayor of Lismore, Steve Craig, himself a Catholic, told me that, you know, the community spirit is real and visible here, that it's a closely knit community and they've really come together, perhaps even despite big government efforts, which were perhaps late, but it really has been the people that are rallied. Is that what you've seen?
I mean, I certainly wouldn't say the government's efforts were late. How quickly can they respond? Even if somehow arrangements had been made for the army to come, they wouldn't have been here at the time of the flood. So they still would have come after the flood, and they've come very quickly after the flood, and they're doing amazing work.
But it was that first wave of volunteers who were able to
clear out shops, clear out houses. It's extraordinary, and in many instances people were there working, helping, and I'm sure the owners of the house or the shop had no idea who these people were and might never see them again.
How do you think the Catholic Church can help in the very long recovery that lies ahead?
Well, first of all, they can pray for the poor Bishop of Lismore, that he will discern with God as to what to do, and that he will be given the wisdom to decide. We have a donation fund where money is coming in, but I will not touch any of it until I have a sense of what the correct thing to do is. I could react now and start providing this, that and the other, but everyone else is making those provisions. So I'm going to hold on for a few weeks and see what the gaps are, and then find ways to provide according to what we can afford, what we've got, for the people. Last time we provided mattresses for everyone who lost a mattress. If you lost 2, I gave you 2 new ones. You lost 5, I give you 5. And everyone who claimed a mattress, we provided one. Now the loss is much greater, but then where will they put the mattress at the moment? So it's a difficult thing, and I was thinking of counselling because of the mental health issues, but it seems the state government's putting $24 million into that, so my little bit will make no difference. So once I know what's happening and what the real losses are for the people and what other people are doing, then I'll sit down and work out what we can do. As with the last one, every cent went to the people because there are no administrative costs, because my staff are already working for me, and I've just used the staff that work for me to do all this work. They don't get paid anything extra, but they're very happy to do it. And so everything goes to the people, as we did for the fires. For the fires, I think we gave $500 to every household that lost a house. For the recent floods down in the south of the diocese, because most of the people were from caravan parks, so no point giving them a mattress. So those who applied, I think we gave $500 to them as well. But I don't know that we can afford $500 this time, but we'll have to work out what we can do so as to provide some way to help people.
One of the features of this flood is the accommodation crisis that was already existing here, now compounded by the need to stay with relatives or friends or to, in the first instance, an evacuation shelter. What do you think the city can do about providing more substantial accommodation on a permanent basis?
Well, it's something that I've been thinking about for a long time, which is social housing. For one thing, it's very clear you have to build social housing on land which won't flood, and that means building in a more expensive place, which pushes the cost up. I hope to begin some kind of social housing somewhere in the diocese within the next year or two, but for the sake of this tragedy, I don't think anyone can do anything but the government, because the kind of funds necessary, if I was to build, say, 10, what good is that in the future? It's the kind of thing which does require a concerted effort from the government, because only they can do it. There are so many things that hopefully the government will do, because there's so many things that only the government can do. I'm not a politician, so I wouldn't even begin to tell the government what to do, but so much is in their court because no one else has the resources.
One of the powerful images of this flood is the Cathedral here in Lismore, surrounded by water, a Marian statue with the water rising above Mary's hands.
At least you can look over the top.
Tell me about the rising waters coming into the cathedral.
Well, it's the first time in the cathedral's history that waters have gone in. The waters came to about, I think, 2/3 of a metre, just above 2/3 of a metre in the cathedral. What surprised me is the way that it managed to push all the pews, heavy pews all over the place in there. So the power of the water coming in urgently when it was just filling up everywhere gave me a sense of what happened in people's houses, because if the water could move the pews, luckily it didn't go into the sanctuary. It came up a few steps but didn't go all the way in. But so the next day, because by the next day the water had dropped below the level of the cathedral, there were volunteers in there cleaning, because if we didn't, the damage would be even greater. Hosing it out, cleaning it out, but the insurers and other people who are attending to it tell me that the cathedral won't be ready for use until after Easter, because so many things were impacted by the water going in. But that's nothing compared to people losing somewhere to live, isn't it? We just have our masses somewhere else.
And I guess some of these volunteers who are coming to help and clean up were people that had perhaps lost everything, or
could be, and some came from long distances.
Yeah.
Once they saw the cathedral, people were there in the cathedral presbytery and the Catholic schools office, which is right next door. The water went well up into the first floor of the building, which is why at Trinity College, some of the buildings, the water went right over the rooftop. You couldn't see the roof. So,
are there other churches that went under?
In the CBD, every church was flooded except for the Anglican Church, and they very, very generously offered their church to other people to use. There's a lovely kind of rapport within Lismore. Even in Evans Head, because Woodlawn was totally submerged. So we've got a church and a school there. So we've relocated the school children, primary school, to our church in Evans Head and the parish hall, and that can accommodate them all. But it means there's nowhere for mass. So I was talking to the Anglican bishop this morning. He said, use my church, which is right next door to our church, for as long as you want. Just that. He's a lovely man, we're friends. He's a lovely human being, Bishop Murray Harvey, and he said, yeah, use it. You're welcome.
So these are shards of light amongst the destruction and
Well, it's everyone trying to help. As a bishop, I feel quite useless. I don't know that I've done anything. I've just gone around, listened to people, trying to organise things for the next stage. But there's a sense, even for anyone that's done any help, that what have I done really in the face of the suffering and loss? Whatever you've done is in fact nothing in comparison to what these people have lost.
And the people that have lost all that you speak to, what's the message? What words of
do not lose hope. Because when we lose hope, we're destroyed. It's what the Nazis did in their concentration camps. They tried to take the human spirit away from these human beings, which meant in destroying them, they tried to take away hope. And it's easy to lose hope, especially in a world where everyone thinks they can do anything, where people think they have it within themselves. And what a tragedy shows people is you don't have it. You don't have the answer, you don't have the solution. And the temptation is to fall into despair because no one knows, no one has the answer. And that's the temptation that we're facing this Lent. The temptation perhaps of falling into despair, which means falling into yourself and seeing the emptiness. And the answer is to look outside yourself and see God in the person that's suffering. And if you can see God in that person, you'll be able to find God within yourself. And if you can find God within yourself, you can give God to others. And that's hope. The opposite is destructive of the human condition. It's destructive of human spirit. Where there's no hope, the easiest way to put it, the evil one is won the day. Because you're destroyed, the individual's destroyed.
Bishop, thank you very much.
Thank you.